Yo, what's going on? Oh my gosh, be serious. Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Dee Green.
I'm Lauren, and today we're talking about marriage counseling and what we think about it.
Basically, what we're gonna do here on this channel, on the NonaTV channel, is we want to just keep it real to you guys and talk about things that are going on currently in our life and things that other people might not talk about, but things that we feel like should be talked about and can add value to your life, like when they're talked about.
Yes.
We did release episode 1. Don't watch it because it's not as good as this one. Just look forward to the next ones. But now that we have it kind of figured out what we want to do, and basically we don't want to worry about everything being perfect. We want to be able to just put it out, talk to you guys, and then kind of build from there as we go. So we don't even have a name for this yet. I know my mom had mentioned on the DL, since it's Dee and Lauren, but then it's also like we're talking about stuff that a lot of people keep on the DL. So comment below if that's a name that you think we should use for this series, or if you have a better suggestion. So we just got back from our very first, it wasn't really our first, but kind of like our first introduction session with our marriage counseling. So a lot of people, I feel like this is like a topic like a lot of people that are either going to be engaged couples or couples that are married. I feel like this is something that people talk about, and people either feel like this is something you should do or something that you don't really do. So like for my mom, for example, like when she got remarried, she said they didn't do it, and the first time she said they didn't really do counseling until they got into the relationship and it wasn't going as well as they wanted to, so they kind of used it as a cure rather than a prevention. Right. So obviously we're not gonna base it off our whole experience because we've only been to like, you know, one session, but from what we've learned and from how we felt like our whole relationship and growing up on counseling and learning about a marriage, like how do you feel about it, I guess, from like a woman's perspective and also from your perspective, learning about a marriage before you get married, and then also as you go into the marriage, like should you keep learning? Is that something that's important? Like how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like it's super important. I feel like people prepare for everything else except marriage. So they have a first home buyers course, you know, on when you're buying your first home, or you go to school for all of these years and they're preparing you for your career, but they don't teach you how to deal with relationships and how to be with, you know, your partner, and how to work out conflicts. Or when they do decide to go to counseling, it's already not too late, but like there's already like an issue there, you know, like trying to find a cure versus a prevention. It's kind of like how we were told earlier today, it's like the hits that knock you out are the ones that you don't see coming. So if you're prepared and you know what you're going into and you know how to handle it beforehand, then it just kind of makes the transition, makes the relationship a lot smoother because you both are on the same page.
Yeah, I think like you were saying, it's like so many people spend, 10, 12, whatever hours every single day trying to work on their job. And not to say that's not important, but it's like if you love this person and you're committed to this person, it's like people don't spend like any time learning anything. But instead they're just like, oh, this is like a relationship. Although we have a business and we feel like we need to read all these books and go to all these seminars and watch these YouTube videos and invest all this money, but then when it comes to our relationship, it's like we'll just like figure it out as we go along. Like a relationship is just something easy that everybody knows how to do. Just me personally, I feel like we do a good job with the stuff that we know, but there's stuff that we don't even know that we should be doing. And I think that's where marriage counseling and also reading books comes into play, especially I feel like if you're just trying to have like an average marriage, and you're just like, someone asks you how's your marriage and you're like, it's good, we get along, we go out to eat every now and then, like you know what I mean? That's what I feel like a lot of people are. It's just like it's not good, it's not bad, but it's like we're still married. So a lot of people will be like, we've been married for, you know, 10 years or whatever, and it's like that doesn't mean that you have a great marriage. That just means you've been able to stay complacent. Yeah, that's it. It's like that doesn't mean that doesn't mean anything. It's like people hate their job, but it's like you still stayed there for 30 years, 40 years or whatever. I think for us and for anybody else that wants to have a better than average relationship And with the divorce rate that we have, I think it's important to constantly educate yourself on how you're treating this person that you're supposed to be with for the rest of your life. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, it's kind of like with kids. It's like kids act up, they frustrate you, they get on your nerves, but you never have in your mind like, man, if this gets bad enough, I'm just gonna give them away.
Right.
But it's
I
like,
give up.
yeah, it's like you never hear people say, dang, where's your son? Oh, things just weren't they just weren't working right.
Out.
We had differences, so I just gave them away. I left them in the car at Walmart, and then I just went about my business, and then we just signed some papers. We'll just, you know, people would be like, what the heck? But
right.
Then when you talk about like husbands and wife, it's like, oh, we just weren't seeing eye to eye, or things were getting along. It's like, I understand where you're coming from, but you also agreed to like go down this path. So it's like, it should never be in your mind to like give up. Just like
right.
people don't even give up on their jobs. They give up on their marriage easier than they give up on their jobs.
That's so true.
And it's like, I only want to get married like once, you know, Lord willing, unless something, you know, drastic happens. But from like what we can control, it's like, I feel like there's so much stuff you can learn, and time and energy, that needs to be put in, that you should learn. And I think one of the things I like that he was saying today is like, you need to find, and this could be any areas of life, but with marriage is like, find someone that's in a stage of their relationship that's earlier than yours. So if you're married, find somebody that's like engaged or just dating, and then find someone that's at the same stage as you. So if you're married, find someone that's married, and then find someone that's beyond where you're at, so they could be married like 10 years. That way you can help somebody, you can walk through life with someone, and then you can like get that advice from them.
You learn from their experiences, and then they can help you. You know, they've already lived it, they've walked through it, so you get their wisdom, you know, instead of having to go through it yourself. There's a lot of things that you can prevent because they can help guide you through that.
For you, what do you think, what would you say is one thing you look forward to learning, like from these, like from counseling, whether it be something you didn't know or something that you want to get better at, if that makes sense?
Because I have Natalia, and you know, we're going to be a blended family. I think for me, it's going to be learning how to deal with that transition. So I feel like we have not the perfect relationship, but we have a pretty steady relationship, and we are on the same page with a lot of things. But for so long, she has been my number one. So it's going to be
number two time, baby. I'm coming through. What up?
Be interesting.
What up, baby?
Stop having her, you know, come in, you know, to show her how it's supposed to be, you know, that I'm going to have a husband and you're going to be
in your room
number one.
Oh, sorry.
Stop it. Number one. And not that she gets second place, but that she needs to respect the marriage as a head, you know, as first place. So learning how to deal with that, how to balance that, how to you know, work through that as a family, one-on-one. I feel like I have a really good relationship with her. She talks to me about a lot of things. We have a lot of good conversations, even though she's only, you know, 6.
You guys are the same height, I would hope so. She feels you're very approachable.
You make me sick. Anyway, that's what I'm looking forward to during our sessions.
I think, to me, it's like the same, but also what he said, like, I knew it, but I didn't really think about it, where he was like, yo, like, your wife and your kids are like your responsibility. So like, if they get sick, it's not like, when you're dating, it's like they get sick and you're just like, oh, like they go to the hospital, they go to the doctor on their own, or they have to take care of themselves, and you're like there to, you know, like you're there to support them. But when you're married, it's like, yo, you have to make sure, like, if they need to go to the hospital, they go to the hospital. If they need medicine, then you got to help them get the medicine. If your kids have an issue, if your wife has an issue, like, you can't just be like watching and letting them like, you let them make their own decisions, but if there's something they really need, like, you have to make sure that they have those needs met. And it's like, up until now, it's kind of like you're just like by yourself, really. Then like you kind of do 2 individual things, but once you get married, like, you have to really, you know, make sure that she's really taken care of, like, as the man.
Yeah, and you're getting double portion, because you're not just getting
I'm only taking care of one of y'all at a time. So y'all, if both of y'all get sick at the same time, only one of y'all getting some medicine.
You're picking up a father figure role all at the same time.
You guys better sit down and say, listen, we can't get sick at the same time, because you don't got time for all of that.
You better get your hats ready. You have a lot of them to switch out.
Out of all seriousness though, I think anybody can do anything. Like, it's not that it's, I don't think it's really hard. Like, relationships aren't hard. It's not, I don't think it's hard. It's just, you just have to know what to do and be willing to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, when people say it's hard, but when you think about the tasks that you have to do, none of those tasks are hard.
I think it's
like going out to dinner with someone is not hard. Talking to someone is like not hard. It's just the only thing that's hard is being aware that you have to like do those things. But the actual things themselves are not really that hard.
Right.
It's just committing yourself to, like, when things get hard, or when things get difficult, or when things get uncomfortable, I'm not just gonna give up. I'm gonna constantly educate myself on how to get through this.
Right.
And so I think if you're willing to do that, it's like, not to say that it won't be uncomfortable or difficult, but it's just like, kind of with anything else, with like growing a business or growing like a YouTube channel, it in itself isn't hard. It's just you have to stick through it and constantly learn like what to do. So if you treat it, a relationship, just like you would treat like growing this YouTube channel, it's like, yo, you're putting in a lot of work. But relationship, people just give up so easily, or they think, oh, I'm just gonna rely on what I know my whole life.
I think people fail to realize that relationships do require work, you know, so they want to rely on love alone. You know, we're madly in love and it's gonna carry us through all of life's problems, and that'll sustain you for a little bit. But then when it
once
really
you realize
matters,
once you realize she
you
stopped
need a
wearing
little
that,
bit more than that.
when she stops wearing that makeup and you realize that she don't look like Halle Berry, but she look like Tyler Perry, that's when all that love stuff go away, and you got to rely on your other stuff.
I cannot believe you. Oh my gosh.
You can't just rely on that. It's feelings, what do they call it? The tingling sensation that can fade away. But the commitment and dedication is what will last and make it a lot. I always think, like, whenever I get, like, we really don't have a lot of fights, but whenever I get upset, I'm like, if we were married, would this be something where I'd be like, oh, I just want to end like my whole marriage? Sometimes you're mad like in the moment, but I feel like it's like, yo, just get over it. Like, you got to remember in your mind all the good times you had. So it's like, I'm gonna throw all those away, and all the ones in the future that were gonna come, just over being mad for like one incident that in a week or even probably tomorrow I'm gonna forget about anyways. And I think the marriage counseling, to me, is something that will help you with that, help you learn like those things. And I also want us to be a couple where it's like, we don't just, oh, hey, we did marriage counseling, that's it, or we're good. It's like a couple years into the marriage, decades into the marriage, it's like you're still learning. It's just like a business. You don't just go to school and then, or read a book and then you start your business and then like you never learn again. I think it should be like an ongoing like process.
And I think both of us having the mentality of like separation, like divorce isn't an option, you know? So going into it, like, even if you do have a conflict or a disagreement, like, okay, regardless of what we need to do, like, we're gonna figure this out. Right.
As soon as you realize that, like, I'm probably gonna be right most of the time, like, then you'll probably have a better relationship. So as soon as you just work on that part, everything will probably start to be smooth. I'll try not to say like I told you so.
I'm gonna pretend like you didn't just say that. Next.
Oh my guys, comment below who's always right. Y'all just let them be right, because happy wife, happy life. But we know y'all be wrong.
What the heck?
Y'all be wrong. It's all good though.
That's okay. Keep telling me I'm right. I'll take it.
Tell you you're right? Oh yeah. It's hypothetically speaking.
Whatever floats your boat, my friend.
That kind of like wraps up, I guess, like how we feel about it. But what we want to do, I guess, is like open up the discussion for like, how do you guys feel about it? And also, if you're married or if you're engaged, did you do marriage counseling before you were married? Did you do it after you were married? And how do you feel about it? I feel like some people think of counseling as more of like when things go bad, you get counseling, versus like prevention. Nothing has to be wrong for you to get counseling. It's just getting the knowledge, that way things don't go bad.
Right.
I would be interested in what people did in their own relationship and how you guys feel about it. Did you do it? If you did, like, did it work for you? Was it valuable? What? And then if you guys have any advice or anything like that for our relationship, or just anything you've learned in general, drop those comments below. Let us know what you guys think. I think what we're gonna try to do is on Wednesdays, we're gonna drop this video, so you'll probably be seeing this on a Wednesday if you're watching it when it first came out. and then we'll try to drop one on a Sunday. So if you want to subscribe or hit the bell notification or whatever, that way you know when they upload, you can watch them. But we're going to try to put out 2 of these a week, and the whole goal is to kind of open your mind up to things that maybe you might have been already thinking about, or things that, you know, are important but people don't always talk. Like he was telling us today, like a lot of people hang out, but it's not always with a purpose. So sometimes we don't, like, we feel like we're being a friend because we're around someone, or we go out to eat, or we go to the movies, but it's like, let's talk about real life topics. That way we can grow together and we can learn together, and at the end of the day our lives are better because of that. So that's what we want to do here on this channel. Alrighty, y'all, well, let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys did. Let us know how you guys feel about marriage, counseling in general, educating yourself on marriage if you're doing it currently, basically everything I said before. And then if you guys have any topics that you feel like we should discuss, doesn't have to be around marriage, it can be about anything, but here we're gonna just talk about like real situations that are happening. So drop those comments below, and then we will see you guys on the next episode of this show that we have yet to name. So maybe you can help us out there too.
Yeah.
So what happens is, like, a lot of these kids, they would never even have thought about doing drugs. But now you introduce it to them, and not only did you introduce it to them, but you made it seem as though everyone's doing it, and that the people that are doing it are the cool kids.